CAM reconciliation, a comprehensive overview. Common area main tenants, or CAM reconciliation, is the process that ensures the expenses for maintaining shared spaces in a commercial property, like hallways, parking lots, and landscaping, are fairly distributed among tenants. At the start of the year, landlords estimate these CAM costs and bill tenants accordingly. But by the end of the year, actual expenses are calculated, and this is where reconciliation comes in. If the actual costs are higher or lower than the estimates, tenants either owe the difference or get a credit. CAM reconciliation is crucial because it ensures transparency and fairness, preventing disputes and keeping both landlords and tenants on the same page when it comes to operating expenses. Importance of CAM reconciliation for landlords and tenants. CAM reconciliation plays a critical role for both landlords and tenants in maintaining a mutually beneficial relationship. For landlords, it ensures they accurately recover the costs of maintaining the common areas shared by all tenants. Through reconciliation, landlords can account for any discrepancies between estimated and actual expenses, avoiding potential revenue loss. It also helps foster trust, as tenants see that only legitimate costs are being passed on to them. For tenants, CAM reconciliation ensures they are not overcharged for main tenants' expenses. Since landlords initially bill based on estimates, reconciliation at the end of the year ensures that tenants only pay for their fair share of actual costs, thereby preventing any surprises. It provides clarity, transparency, and peace of mind, knowing they're contributing only what's necessary to the upkeep of the shared spaces. CAM reconciliation process. So, what does the CAM reconciliation process look like? Let's walk you through the CAM reconciliation process for tenants and landlords. To make it easier to understand, we've divided it into 3 parts: inputs, process, and output. For tenants, the inputs include lease agreement, which details the terms of CAM charges and tenant responsibilities. CAM expense reports offering detailed records of all common area, main tenants' expenses incurred. Invoices and receipts that are proof of individual expenses related to CAM. Previous CAM statements, such as prior reconciliation reports for comparison. Tenants' share calculations, meaning tenants' pro rata share calculated and agreed upon based on the lease agreement. A typical CAM reconciliation process for the tenant is as follows. Data collection. Gather records, collecting all invoices, receipts, and expense reports related to CAM. Review lease terms. Verifying the terms related to CAM charges, such as calculation methods and any caps or exclusions. Expense verification. Verify accuracy, ensuring all expenses listed are legitimate and conform to the lease agreement. Allocate costs. Distributing costs among tenants based on their lease space or other agreed-upon methods. Reconciliation calculation. Compute tenant's share, calculating the tenant's share of the total CAM expenses based on the lease terms. Compare with estimates. Checking the actual CAM charges against estimated or budgeted amounts previously charged to the tenant. Prepare a reconciliation statement. Compile report. Creating a detailed reconciliation statement showing actual costs versus estimates, tenant share, and any adjustments. Include supporting documents, attaching copies of invoices and receipts for transparency. Review and communication. Send statement to tenant, providing the reconciliation statement to the tenant for review. Address questions or discrepancies, discussing and resolving any discrepancies or questions raised by the tenant. Final adjustments. Issue credit or additional charges. Based on the reconciliation, issuing of credits if the tenant has overpaid or pay additional charges if they owe more. Next step after process is output. CAM reconciliation statement. Detailed document showing the final calculation of CAM charges. Adjusted invoice or credit memo. Any additional charges or credits issued to the tenant. Supporting documentation, copies of invoices, receipts, and previous statements for reference. Finalize and archive. Finalize reconciliation, confirming all adjustments and finalize the reconciliation process. Archive records, storing all relevant documents and records for future reference and audit purpose. Similarly, on the landlord side, the CAM reconciliation process involves the following elements. The inputs include lease agreements, terms related to CAM charges, tenant obligations, and calculation methods. CAM expense records, detailed records of all expenses incurred for maintaining common areas. Invoices and receipts, documentation supporting each expense. Previous CAM statements, past reconciliation reports for reference and comparison. Tenants' lease data, information about each tenant's share and lease terms. A typical CAM reconciliation process for the landlord is as follows. First, data collection. Compile expenses. Gather all invoices, receipts, and expense reports related to CAM. Review lease agreements. Ensure understanding of each tenant's CAM obligations and calculation methods. Second, expense verification. Review costs. Verify that all expenses are legitimate and in accordance with the lease agreements. Ensure accuracy. Check that all expenses are correctly recorded and categorized. Third, allocate costs. Determine tenant shares. Calculate each tenant's share of the total CAM expenses based on their lease terms. Apply lease provisions. Implement any lease provisions such as caps, exclusions, or specific allocations. Fourth, prepare reconciliation statement. Create detailed report. Draft a reconciliation statement that includes actual expenses, tenant shares, and any adjustments. Include documentation. Attach supporting documents like invoices and receipts to the statement. Fifth, review and approve. Internal review. Conduct an internal review to ensure accuracy and completeness. Approval. Get necessary approvals from relevant stakeholders or management. Sixth, communicate with tenants. Send statements. Distribute the reconciliation statements to tenants. Address queries. Respond to tenant inquiries or disputes regarding the reconciliation. Next, adjustments. Issue credits or additional charges. Based on tenant feedback, issue any required credits or charge additional amounts. Update records. Adjust the accounting records to reflect any changes. And last, finalize and archive. Finalize reconciliation. Confirm that all adjustments are completed and reconciliation is finalized. Archive documentation. Store all records, statements, and supporting documents for future reference and audits. The step after process is output. CAM reconciliation statement. The finalized document detailing CAM charges and tenant allocations. Adjusted invoices or credit memos. Documentation of any credits issued or additional charges. Supporting documentation. Copies of all relevant invoices, receipts, and previous statements. Archived records. Organized storage of all documents for compliance and audit purposes. Complexity and time. But here's the thing, CAM reconciliation is no simple task. It's incredibly time-consuming. Each location can take anywhere from 4 to over 20 hours to complete. And the paperwork? Expect to handle between 60 to 500 documents per location. It's tedious, detailed work. While CAM reconciliation may seem overwhelming, it's essential for maintaining a fair balance between landlords and tenants. The right tools and processes can make it easier and more efficient for everyone involved.